Could one imagine a world where the very essence of one's identity becomes the reason for relentless persecution? In our exploration of historical events, we frequently encounter narratives of agony and despair, and one such story is that of the Hazara people in Afghanistan. The Hazara, an ethnic group primarily residing in the harshly rugged region of Hazarajat in the heart of Afghanistan, have been victims of persistent prejudice and contempt, their identity a reason for their suffering. The Hazara belong to a rich, diverse cultural heritage, yet they have been relentlessly subjected to intolerance and hate. The Hazaras bear distinct physical features, setting them apart from other ethnic communities in Afghanistan. This physical distinctiveness, coupled with their religious beliefs, has rendered them targets of persecution. Primarily Shia Muslims in a predominantly Sunni nation, their religious beliefs have often been a cause of contention. This, combined with their unique racial identity, has made them the target of hostility and discrimination. The Hazara's tale of persecution is deeply ingrained in the annals of history, emphasizing the profound impact of ethnic conflict on a community's existence. The turning point in their history was in the late 19th century during the reign of Abdur Rahman Khan. This period witnessed the first significant of violence that the Hazaras had to endure. Abdur Rahman Khan, aiming to strengthen his sovereignty, orchestrated a ruthless campaign against the Hazaras. His oppressive regime sought to annihilate those who dared to resist, resulting in an appalling mass genocide. It is believed that the region of Hazarajat lost 60% of its population to this lethal ethnic purge. The horrendous massacre not only wiped out a significant portion of their population, but also brought about devastating socioeconomic implications. Survivors of this massacre were subjected to extreme forms of humiliation, including slavery and forced displacement. They were stripped of their basic human rights and dignity, their lives reduced to mere existence. The remnants of this brutal campaign have been carried forward, the trauma echoing through generations. The survivors, their descendants, and the community at large continue to bear the scars of this horrific purge, a chilling reminder of their past. The survivors, subjected to slavery and forced displacement, carried the scars of this brutal purge for generations to come. Fast forward to the late 20th century, the Hazaras once again found themselves under the heavy hand of persecution. As the wheels of time turned, these resilient individuals found themselves grappling with an era of torment and tyrannical rule. The perpetrator this time was the Taliban, a name which would soon become notoriously synonymous with the extremism that it embodied. The Taliban, a fundamentalist group, sought to assert control over Afghanistan, a country already battered by decades of turmoil, conflict, and war. The year was 1996, a year that would go down in history for the widespread terror and shock it would bring to the nation's socio-political landscape. The Taliban's reign was not just a regime change, it was an era of darkness that fell over Afghanistan, casting a shadow of fear and dread over its people. It was a time marked by a violent clampdown on basic human rights, a time when freedom became nothing more than a distant dream. The Taliban enforced a strict interpretation of Sharia law, and those who dared to dissent were met with swift, merciless retribution. This oppressive reign was particularly harsh on the Hazaras. The Hazaras, primarily belonging to the Shia sect of Islam, were a minority in a predominantly Sunni-majority country. This sectarian divide, unfortunately, made them an easy target for the Taliban. They bore the brunt of the Taliban's cruelty, their lives marked by a constant struggle for survival against prejudice and violence. They were persecuted, targeted, and marginalized, simply for practicing a different branch of the same religion. The Taliban's ruthless discrimination and brutal persecution of the Hazaras left an indelible impact on their community, transforming their lives into an unending battle against oppression and tyranny. The Hazaras, being predominantly Shia Muslims in a Sunni-majority country, bore the brunt of their cruelty. The late 20th century was indeed a difficult, tumultuous time for this resilient community, a period that would test their strength and resolve in the face of unspeakable adversity. In the early 21st century, the situation seemed to improve with the fall of the Taliban regime. A glimmer of hope emerged as Afghanistan braced itself for a new era, one devoid of the oppressive rule that was the Taliban regime. The world watched, holding its breath as the dust raised by the fall of the Taliban began to settle. However, this newfound tranquility was short-lived. As if emerging from shadows, a new threat, one perhaps more sinister than its predecessor, began to reveal itself. This threat was none other than ISIS-K, the Afghan affiliate of the group, although not as substantial in size as the Taliban, had an air of terror that surrounded it. Their name alone was enough to send shivers down the spine of the bravest. The Hazaras, a historically persecuted ethnic group in Afghanistan, found themselves to be the primary target of this new terror outfit. The Hazaras, known for their distinctive features and mainly Shia Muslim faith, have been a marginalized group in Afghanistan for centuries. This new threat was just another horrifying chapter in their long history of struggle and survival. Despite being a relatively small group compared to other international terrorist organizations, ISIS-K demonstrated immense capacity for violence and destruction. The group's ruthlessness and disregard for human life was evident in the numerous attacks they carried out against the Hazaras. Each attack more brutal than the last, a petrifying showcase of their capabilities. One of the most infamous instances was the devastating suicide bombing at a school in Kabul in 2021. The attack was a gruesome reminder of the group's reach and disregard for innocent life. The assault left countless families mourning, a community devastated, and a nation in shock. The bombing served as a grim warning to the international community. It was a stark reminder of the relentless threat the Hazaras faced in Afghanistan, a threat that seemed to only grow in intensity and frequency as the years passed. Despite being a relatively small group, ISIS-K has carried out some of the deadliest attacks against the Hazara people, including the devastating suicide bombing at a school in Kabul in 2021. The recent return of the Taliban to power has further heightened the fears of the Hazara community. This occurrence is not a mere handover of power but a significant event that holds a considerable potential to reshape their lives. The Hazara community has a long history, rich in traditions and culture, yet has had a tumultuous relationship with the Taliban. This recent development is a stark reminder of the difficult times that lie ahead for the Hazara people. Despite the Taliban's claims of protecting all ethnic groups, their actions often present a different picture. Over the years, the adherence to a strict interpretation of the Sunni Hanafi jurisprudence has given rise to concerns and questions about the survival and preservation of the Hazara's unique cultural and religious identity. The Hazara people, predominantly followers of Shia Islam, find themselves at odds with the religious doctrines propagated by the Taliban. This power shift in Afghanistan has brought back the memories of the brutal reign of the Taliban, during which the Hazara community faced significant persecution. Now they fear a similar future awaits them. The Taliban's ideological rigidity and uncompromising adherence to the Hanafi jurisprudence does not leave room for the accommodation of Hazara Shia Islamic law and values, which is a significant part of the cultural identity of the Hazara people. The Hazara community has always been characteristically diverse, with its unique blend of cultural practices and beliefs. However, the Taliban's rigid and uncompromising interpretation of Islam does not offer any space for such diversity, thereby leading to the further marginalization of the Hazara community. The Hazara people, in their quest for survival and preservation of their identity, now face a daunting task. They are forced to coexist with a regime that does not recognize or accommodate their uniqueness, which adds to their already prevalent sense of insecurity and fear. Indeed, the recent return of the Taliban to power has heightened the fears of the Hazara community. The adherence to Hanafi jurisprudence by the Taliban excludes the accommodation of Hazara Shia Islamic law and values, leading to further marginalization of the Hazara community. In summary, the Hazaras, an ethnic minority in Afghanistan, have endured centuries of persecution. From the reign of Abdur Rahman Khan to the Taliban's rule and the emergence of ISIS-K, they have been the target of ethnic cleansing and brutal atrocities. The international community's commitment to human rights and leveraging aid to secure guarantees of Hazara rights and protection remains the only hope for the Hazara people. Their plight and the threat of genocide they face should be a matter of international concern, calling for urgent action by international human rights bodies.